Appliance repair community. My name is Reggie Williams. I was a technician for 10 years, and I went from tech to your Encompass rep.
Well, good morning, everyone. Doesn't look like we have anybody that has been wanting to start this early class. We're trying it out. Wanted to see if it would get anybody to actually show up. It is now 6 o'clock where I'm at, 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. So hope everybody has a great day. And we're just going to go ahead and get started. You saw Reggie. He introduced himself. He is your Encompass rep. If you are not in the southern region, you can look at you can call your Encompass dealer, and there's a rep out there for you. Today we're going to talk about the LokRing system. Okay. And just why it's easier to use a LokRing system than to go ahead and use the torch method. There's several factors there that you have to factor in everything just so that you make sure that you don't have any issues. One is if you're using R600, that's highly flammable. I wouldn't advise using a torch. It's not a matter of if it's going to cause you a problem. It's a matter of when it's going to cause you a problem. I have seen pictures, and I had a guy send me a video of where they had used a torch instead of it, and almost burnt down the shop that they have. So it's not a good thing to use a torch with R600. Okay, so repair of refrigeration appliances using the LokRing system. After we get done, we're going to go through several of the other issues or several of the other things that will help you whenever you're doing your LokRing. Okay. It's a constant repair of refrigeration appliances with LokRing. There are many advantages. There are areas of application, functional principle, repairs, technical specifications, laboratories. This is what we're going to kind of go through today. We're going to go to the assembly tool. We're going to go and look at the if I could pronounce that, I would be great. Anabolic sealant, which is the lock prep. We're going to talk about assembly instructions, customer support, and then we're going to go through with the conclusion. Except we're not going to go to the conclusion. We'll then advance into the LSRV cutter that you have here, and then we're going to have a H-mark tool maintenance. That's something that you really need to do periodically with your LokRing system. We're going to go ahead and advance on now. Looks like we have one person in, and let's go ahead. Okay. So, what are some of the advantages to LokRing versus brazing? Okay, it's suitable for flammable refrigerants. Like I already said, I had a technician send me a video of how they had almost burned down their shop area because the guy used a torch and unbrazed a compressor, thinking that, hey, it's no problem. I've got this. It's no problem at all. Well, what people don't realize is there's about 40% of whenever the oil and the refrigerant move through, you're going to get it saturates itself, and you can have about a 45% refrigerant in that oil. So you have to be very careful with that. Okay. So it's suitable for flammable refrigerants. It's customer friendly, on site service with reduced logistics cost. So exactly how is that? Um, what does that statement actually mean? Okay, it is definitely customer friendly. I don't have as many items that I have to carry into the house, which means that I have less chance of damaging something at the customer's house. Reduced logistics costs. I don't have to. Pardon me. I don't have to have a. I have to have, if I'm carrying refrigerant in my truck, which if you're going to replace it, you got to have it in there. You're still going to have your NSDS sheets. But a 30 pound of refrigerant versus an R600 refrigerant, it's in a little can. I mean, it looks like one of the guys that I used to run around with drink the NOS energy drink. Looks exactly almost like that can. So, I mean, that's the difference in size. And you've got, with everything that I have, I've got a whole lot less that I have to carry in and damage. If I'm carrying my torch, I don't know about you guys. Whenever I first started out, I had a acetylene torch. And then I graduated. I got tired of the acetylene. I got really good at brazing, so I advanced over to an oxygen acetylene torch, and that actually I had to carry 2 bottles around in a cart. I always had to worry about not damaging the customer's house or the floor or anything else. So with my LokRing, I've got 2 cases that I carry in with me, and that's really all that I have to take in with me. Besides excuse me, I have the hiccups. That's all that I have to really take in with me, except for my phone and my pad that I keep my route on. So it makes it very easy, and it reduces my logistics cost. Okay, clean and fast and reliable. I will tell you this, that even though R600, you do not have to reclaim. I advise putting it in a bag. If you don't, you can vent this into the air currently. But like I said, this is highly flammable. So what I would do is I would take it outside, get in an area, because I've got a bag. I drain it into the bag. I take it outside. I can then take it and unhook the bag and let it just drain out into the air. Like I said, you don't have to recover R600 currently. Okay, so it is clean, fast, and reliable. It takes me a little less. It takes me about a third. Actually, it takes me about somewhere between half and 2/3 of the time to do as if I was brazing, and I really don't have to worry about a whole lot. I don't have an open flame, so I don't have any damage that I'm going to be causing by the open flame. Whenever I was teaching brand new students, we would go out. I had a guy that actually melted the floor because he didn't use his blanket. I had another guy that was training and actually melted the liner of the refrigerator because he didn't use his blanket properly. And it took him too long to get it on and get it on the spot and get it heated and remove it. And then, you always ran the risk of, if you pull it out too fast, and especially if you have an issue where I'm having to remove the filter dryer, because I have a stopped up system. I always run the risk of, whenever I pop that off, I may get may cause a little phosgene gas, and that's not good for your lungs. Okay. Another thing is assembly possible in highly combustible areas, even with heavy foot traffic or during business operations. That's one of the nice things about this. I always have the chance that I can do this when people are around, and I don't have to worry about it, especially if I'm putting it into a bag. So, the only problem that I really have is, like, if I was in a kitchen, and it was not at a customer's house, at a commercial kitchen or a restaurant kitchen, you may have a little problems going in and being able. It depends on what they have, but that's something that you would have to do, is you'd have to go in and figure that out if you're going to cause problems. And you may want to, at that point, you may want to say, well, you know what, thank you very much, but we're gonna go ahead and hold off for a little bit until the lunch rush dies down. Okay, we have a single assembly without a power connection, so I don't have to have a power. They say no power connection. You don't for your LokRing. The problem that you're going to have is you will need a power connection, because you do have a vacuum pump that you're going to have. So we're going to keep moving on. No heavy brazing equipment is necessary. Whenever I was doing all of this, I had my torch, and then I had my torch kit, and then I had another little bag that I carried that had it had a fire extinguisher, a blanket. It had a couple of other things in it, that was just my preventative kit. Okay, so I don't have all of that. Plus, I always, you have to have your tools. Okay, so no brazing related quality problems. If you're not familiar with, if you haven't been doing this very long, it's very easy to cause a problem whenever I was brazing. I could cause a weak spot in the fitting itself, or something like that, as my brazing quality issues. It could be that my flux and my solder didn't run exactly around, and I have a leak. If you do LokRing properly, you won't have any issues. We're going to go through that. Now, I'm going to take just a second here, and I will tell you that we have a paid school that will totally get you certified in LokRing, and you're ready to go once you get certified. Okay, you do have to have all of the tools. The tools are not cheap. You can't go to Walmart or to Harbor Freight and buy your tools. They don't sell them there. They're not cheap. You do have to have every fitting that you're going to need. And if I do just one type of refrigeration, say I do just GE refrigerators. I have guys that's all they do is GE refrigerators. Well, if I've got that, I can order a kit from GE that you can buy. You can order it from us, which is Encompass. You can order it from us, but there's a kit that each manufacturer has, and I can now take and order just that kit. I prefer to have every one of them because I was one of the guys. I didn't work on just one type refrigerator. You know, I may have been a Samsung, or it could have been a Whirlpool, or it could have been a GE. We worked on everything. Okay, so we were talking about brazing issues. So here's the difference. Okay, if you look at this this brazing tube, you notice where it's together. Look on the inside where it didn't actually get the solder to run all the way through. Is that going to be a definite leak? Could be. It could not be. You don't really know until you power it up. But if I look at my LokRing and I've installed my LokRing properly, I won't have any issues. Okay. One of the things about the LokRing is the fact that if I do this properly, I'll never have a leak. Okay. One of the things that I'm going to say now is if excuse me, if I don't clean my tool, my H mark tool, I can have an issue where the rings don't pull in correctly. So we can go through that here in just a little bit whenever we get to it. Okay, so areas of application, it's endless. Okay, as you look right here, you can see where they have placed LokRing fittings. Okay, the possibilities are actually endless. Okay, so household refrigeration appliances, refrigerators, freezers, wine coolers can all be used. Ready to use refrigeration equipment, such as a refrigerator cabinet, a bar, locker, chillers, even the ones that have the what is it? Give me a second. I'm trying to think of the name of it. It's what they do for tap beer. So you've got a refrigerator there. It kind of keeps it cool. So I could use that. Okay, refrigeration equipment for catering, counter refrigerators, flow through coolers, portable cooling systems. You can look right there. That's a probably 30 tap dispenser. You could have wine in there. You could have beer in there. And it's all controlled by something that has a refrigeration system in it to keep the beverages cold. So that's your endless possibilities. Okay, so here is your functional principle of LokRing. Okay, the components. All right. So if you look at number 1, that's the joint. If you look at number 2, that's the rings. Number 3 is the lock prep. Okay. So if you look at the very top, it's all broken down. So in every joint, I can remove the rings. Okay. The joint itself, I can separate my joint from my rings. Okay. And then I have to have my lock prep to put them in. Okay. So, but if you look at the slide on the right side, okay, you can tell that number 1 right there is actually the joint. Okay. That's the depends on if it's copper or aluminum. That could be an aluminum joint, or that could be a copper joint. And then I've got the rings are actually brass. And then for every refrigerator that as a technician we work on, which is household appliances, the LokRing, we have a special LokRing prep that they use. Okay. So here are my areas of connection, my functional principles. I'll spit that out in a minute. Can't tell that I have been up since 3. So we have the insertion area, which is A. So if you look at A, that's where it needs to all. Whenever I put my joint in and I get ready to put the lock. I have just applied the lock ring. I'm going to then take and spin my joint, and then I'm going to be ready to go. Okay, so I've got the insertion area. One of the things that I want to make sure that I do is insert the tube as far in as I can. It will stop. So get that inserted, and then it will stop. Okay. We have a stabilization and sealing area, which is the B. That if you notice, that's a wide area. So whenever I get ready to join my copper tubing or steel or aluminum tubing, I'm going to use my cutters, and I'm going to cut the line, and then I'm going to use my joint. Just as I get ready to insert the joint, I put lock prep around that, push that joint in, spin it, and it will seal. So if you look at C, that's your main sealing area. Okay, so repair possibilities with LokRing. We're going to show you just exactly where you can use LokRing. Okay, I can replace a compressor. I can replace a filter dryer. I can replace a charging tube. I can replace the leaky braze connections. All I have to do is take that out. So if you look on the right side over there of the slide, you can see that they have one right there where where the low side is. Then you have your filter dryer. You can tell that there's two fittings right there. Notice the difference in the capillary tube fitting versus any of the other fittings that are brass. You see that the capillary tube fitting has a aluminum. So that joint is actually an aluminum there. Okay. Then if you look at you look over here to the right, that's your charging tube connector. So you should be all set right there. All right. So here's the different combinations of materials that I can use. All right. Cu is copper. Okay. So if I'm going to join copper to copper, I'm going to use the brass. Okay. If I'm going to join copper to steel, I'm also going to use the brass. Okay. If I'm going to use steel to steel, I'm also going to use the brass. Okay. If I'm going to go aluminum to aluminum, okay, I'm going to use the aluminum fitting. If I'm going to use aluminum to copper, I'm also going to use the aluminum fitting. If I'm going to go aluminum to steel, I'm also going to use the aluminum fitting. So if I have anything that has aluminum in it, I'm going to use the aluminum fitting. Okay. So they do have a starter kit that you can get. I would suggest that if you're going to go ahead and make the investment, just go ahead and buy it all and not even worry about a starter kit. Okay. But the starter kit comes with a hand assembly tool, my assembly jaws, my lock prep, sandpaper, dryers, straight connectors, straight reducing connectors. So the difference between it and the other and the main one that they have is that it has the H mark tool in it. Okay, so my dryer selection, my repair possibilities. So I have a steel to copper fitting there on the liquid line. Okay, so that's going to be if you look on number one, that would be the liquid line and the copper to steel there. Then I've got my filter dryer to the dryer, and that's going to be my aluminum fitting. That's got my aluminum. I've got my aluminum to copper. Okay, my specially designed LokRing application. If you notice, the LokRing excuse me, the LokRing filter dryer has the cap already built into it. Now, if I want to take this and I want to make sure that I don't have any leaks whatsoever, whenever I get done, I can tighten I can put a little lock prep around the fitting, and then attach the cap to it, and I won't have a leak in that. I guarantee you. Okay, so my evaporator possibilities. So my cap tube to the evaporator. Okay, you can see that. You notice that's an aluminum fitting. So I have aluminum to aluminum there. My evaporator to the suction line is also, which is copper to aluminum. That also has a aluminum fitting there. Now, one thing that I really like about the ability with this unit, I can tell you that I have tried to replace. I've tried to replace several evaporators, and I ended up having to just cut the evaporator out and pull it and throw it away. With LokRing, I can actually cut some of the fins back, and I can use a LokRing connector, and I can put that together, and I won't have a leak in that spot again. You know, there's a couple of manufacturers out there that are known for a leaky evaporator, so it kind of gives me another option. One thing I hated to do was get there and not be able to fix it and have the customer without a refrigerator for another 3 days while I got the part, and sometimes it was a week. Got the part and got it back out to the house. Okay, the condenser section. You notice there's I've got my copper to steel there for the condenser for the back. My hot gas line with my solid plate condenser. You know, that's 5 is the back plate, which is your copper to steel. Then I have a hot gas line, which is number 7, and that's down there on the bottom. If you look at that, okay. So that could be either copper to steel or it could be steel to steel. Okay. And then we've got our side plate condenser, which is number 6. Okay. So that is covering all the areas that I can actually put stuff. One of the other things, we're going to get to the compressor right here. One of the things that I like, they have a Schrader valve that's put in it, and that's for the charging tube. I like the one that's right here on the where the charging tube is. You can see that that has the Schrader valve in it. There's a charging tube stopper. Okay. Then they have the fittings that have the Schrader built into the fitting itself. So that's really a really nice thing. There's your suction line to the compressor with that valve, that little Schrader valve that I was talking about that's on there. And then, of course, you've got your compressor with your hot gas side. You notice all of this is copper to copper right now. You may have copper to steel where right there at the compressor where it comes off of the condensing side of the unit. Okay. Technical specifications for your LokRing connector. Okay. So LokRing, all of the refrigeration appliances that a home appliance technician deals with. Okay. That is a 00 size connector. Okay. So if we get in and we have to if we get into another situation, we may have to use a different a different tool. But for home appliances, it's a type 00. If we get down to a 0 instead of the 00, you're going to have a different tool. Okay, so it has a UL. They're UL approved. The reference standards, ISO 14903. That's the current standard. We don't use a whole lot of EN 37378-2. That's not really more of us. That's more of a European system. Maximum operating pressure 360 psi. We've got admissible refrigerants. I can use LokRing with either HFC, HC. You can't use it for the NH3, which is it will actually eat the fitting because it's ammonia. I'll spit it out in a minute. Wow. By tube diameter, I can go anywhere from 1/16 of an inch up to 3/8 of an inch. That's your double O connectors. Okay. My tube wall thickness, all of them are basically 5 millimeters. It's funny how we now have everything is either millimeters, or it's either SAE or it's metric, and sometimes they're combined together, and here they're combined together. Okay, so I'm going to tell you about the laboratory testings. This is the ISO 14903. This is what LokRing has to go through to have this approved and that they're certified. Okay, they have a testing procedure. They have a whole lab over in Germany, and they that's all they do in this lab is they test stuff to make sure that it still meets the specifications that are needed to shown. Okay, so they have, number one, the first thing they do is a tightness test. They do that before the load test. Okay, that tightness test tells me that I don't have any leaks. Then I have a fatigue test. We're going to go through each one of these, and you'll understand it in just a little bit. Okay, so they have a fatigue test. They have a freezing test. They have a vibration test. They have a pressure temperature cycle test. They have a vacuum test. They have a pressure test again. Okay, and then they have a tightness test after they do all of the loads. Okay, so the test parameters. Okay, they have 14 test samples, and they're usually that they use for this test. So they have 14 samples. Okay, before starting the test, the following parameters are defined: the maximum pressure, the minimum temperature, and the maximum operating test pressure. Okay, so for the tightness test, that's the first test that they do. So they take and inject helium gas into it. The temperature is at 68 degrees Fahrenheit. The pressure difference is 145 psi. The maximum leakage that is allowed is 7.5 times 10 to the minus 6 millibar. Okay, that is super tight. Of course, it's got to be, because we can't have it do that and have a leak in the system. So then we have the fatigue test. So we take our 16 test sections, and we now take 250 cycles between the maximum operating pressure and the regular atmospheric pressure. Okay, so that's That's 250,000 cycles that it's going to go through. Once they show that, we say, okay, our fatigue test is good. The next thing that happens is that they do the freezing test. Okay, so what they do, this is a two-step process. The first step is we take the test samples and they're submerged into a container underwater. The pressure above water surface is reduced to 5 millibars, which is 7.25 psi for 10 minutes. Okay, trapped air disappears from the cavities while we're stirring normal ambient air pressure. The cavities fill up with water. Okay, then step 2 is the test samples are then placed in a freezer for at least 30 minutes. That freezer temperature is 5 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay. The test samples are then placed into a water room temperature so that it can thaw after that 30 minutes. Once it goes through, they check it for leaks. If they have no leaks, we move ahead to the vibration test. Okay. They do the vibration test for 2 million load cycles. Okay. And the frequency is up to 200 hertz. Okay. The amplitude depends on the size of the connection. So it's the size of the pipe. Once they get through there, they go ahead and then move on to the pressure temperature cycle test. Once again, this is a two-step process. We alternate temperatures between the minimum and the maximum pressures. When the maximum pressure is reached, the test samples will be inflated to maximum operating pressure for 2 minutes. Okay, then if those all pass, we take it to step 2. They do this 200 cycles. Okay, the maximum temperature is held. Then the pressure alternates between atmospheric pressure and maximum operating pressure. Okay, once they get through all of that, and all those pass, we do a vacuum test. Okay, so we do this for an hour. The temperature is 68 degrees Fahrenheit, and the maximum pressure rise can only be 2 kilopascals. Okay, so the last thing that we do is our pressure test, and that's a static test. Okay, we do this for 1 minute. The pressure test cycles 5 times. Okay, that's the maximum operating load pressure or the theoretical maximum load of the tube. One of the things about the pressure test, whenever they blow, they find that it's like copper that is what blows. This is an actual picture of one of the tests that it blew out. The LokRing connection is always stronger than the tube itself. Okay, the tightness test after the load test, helium gas again. We use our 68 degrees Fahrenheit. The pressure difference is 145 psi. Then our maximum leakage rate is 7.5 times 10 to the minus 6 millibars. Again, checking for any leaks that we can possibly find. Okay. Now we're going to go through it to the assembly tools. Okay. Then I'm gonna pause this for just a little bit, and then we're going to go and look at a couple of the other things, and then we'll come back and finish our class. Okay. So this is the H-Mark V assembly tool. Okay, it's specially developed. It is made for either a left-handed or a right-handed person. The jaws. You put you depending on the size of the tubing, that determines what your jaw size is. Okay. Also, with this, we have a patented lever mechanism for the assembly with minimum effort. Your assembly jaws are easy to change for your different tube diameters. Both the handles bend so that I can get it for hard to reach places. Plus, it's totally different if I'm left-handed or right-handed. Okay, so that's one thing great about this. This H Mark tool, I can use it either left-handed because I actually am left-handed whenever it comes to this, and it's used. It's based on German technology. I like it. It's a little difficult to get used to. I will tell you, the first time that I took the class, I actually did not pass because I wasn't as proficient as I needed to be. So I had to go back in about 3 months and had to take the class again, and that cost me the exact same fee that I was charged before. So if you're going to go and you're serious about this, and you're serious about the LokRing system, okay, I would tell you to get it before you go so that you can practice up a little bit. Once you order the tools, you can go out to the website. They actually have demonstration videos. And that way I can look at it and make sure that I'm doing it right. And then we can get it rolling. Okay. So we were talking about jaw size. Okay. So if I'm going to use the LokRing system, I've got to know which jaw size I need. So if I'm using an MBA where the outer diameter tube is somewhere between 1/16 and 5/16 inches, that's an MB8, okay? That's the jaw size. The jaws are right there on the right side. If I have an MB10, that's for a 3/8 tube. So if I have a 3/8 tube, I've got to change the jaws. The jaws are very easy to change. We're going to get to that in just a minute on how to several of the slides later on. Okay, so let's go ahead. I'm going to reduce this down. I'm going to come right here. Okay, so I'm going to tell you about something that used to drive me crazy. I would get to the house with my new compressor, and I unbox it, and it looks like they took the compressor and pitched it off the back of the truck, and it cracked about 4 or 5 times down on the ground, and then everything's bent up inside. Well, you had to turn right back around and take it back to the parts house, or usually it was more like take it back to the shop, make a call, have them reorder it, and tell them that they needed to check it before we actually got there, so that we didn't have this problem again. But on this one, I can actually use the LokRing tool, and I can fix my issue with my let's go back here. So it depends on what size that I'm using. So it goes from 3 to a 9.53, and then I'm showing you right here. This is how you do this. Okay, so my suction tube, or my discharge tube, or one of those is messed up. Okay, if I'm in an area that I cannot get to if I cannot get to my fitting, but through one side, I could actually use this. Now, if you look at the very top, it tells you right there that I can only use this on a brass connector. I cannot use this on an aluminum connector. Okay, so there's my aluminum connector. I cannot use that on this. It will destroy it. Okay, so I can only use it on the brass connector. So make sure that you remember that and don't mess it up. Okay, so the pre-assembly is right here. I'm going to go out. I'm going to take my caliper. I'm going to measure my tube size. Then I'm going to I'm going to select the pre-assembly tool. I'm going to put it together. You can't really tell there, but if you look at the number 6 slide, that is they're getting ready to put it together. Now you can begin to close one side of the connectors. I can stop just about 2 to 3 millimeters short of the completion. You see just how that's very small, okay? Do not fully close the connector with the assembly tool. Doing so will break the internal tube stop because it's actually harder than the copper. Okay, so then I can clean and rotate it, and then I can use the other side. But I can also use this for the like I was talking about my compressor. Okay, that's one of the. So I've got another thing. So if you want more information, there's your www.vulcan.com. I'm going to give you a minute just right there to look at it and get that done. Okay, so that's your pre-assembly tool. Now let's go ahead and move over to the H-Mark assembly tool. This is the maintenance. I told you that you needed to make sure that you kept your tool clean because it will actually cause you so that whenever you go to make this joint right here, one side will slip off and you end up. I had one right here, but I don't see it right now. It actually didn't. It slipped off and it made a gosh awful ugly fitting, and it would leak like a sieve. I don't see it. Sorry. So we're going to go through how to clean our H-Mark assembly tool. So what am I going to need? I'm going to need a can of WD-40. Probably I'm going to have some acetone. I'm going to need some 3-in-1 oil. I would have a pick, a screwdriver. It's just a regular old flat tip screwdriver. Then a brush, and then a couple of towels. Okay, so what do? First thing I'm going to do is, and you need to do this probably like once every 3 months. I would go out and I would lubricate all my exterior points. Okay, it's all listed right here. You can see that you can see just where you're supposed to oil these. So it's a left side, and then when you flip the tool over and clean it on the other side so that you get it all lubricated real well. That will actually, if I lubricate both sides, that should keep me good, and I should not have any problems whatsoever. Then I'm going to open the jaws, and I'm going to take and lubricate the handles. Okay. So one of the things that I'll tell you is if you get too much oil on it, you end up with a spot. So I wrap mine. I always kept mine in a cloth, kind of like I do with whenever I carry my pistol in a case. I wrap it in a cloth. Okay, so you take and you lubricate all of your issues right there. You're going to take and you're going to apply between the drive pawl and the handle, and then you're gonna lubricate the chain itself, and then you lubricate the chain in the handle. Apply between the handle adjustment. Okay, so if you look right there, you see his finger is pressing down on one. So I'm going to lubricate that and mash those in up and down so that they flow easy. I'm going to apply. Then I'm going to, once I get all of those lubricated, I'm going to apply between the fixture and the handle, which you see right there, where he's put the 3-in-1 oil. And then I'm going to apply between the handle adjustment and the safety paw in the handle. Once I lubricate that, I'm going to lubricate the handle the piece right there where the handle is. See all that? Okay. It looks a whole lot better on the one that's on the bottom. So you're doing it one way, and then you close it and do it, and then you got it open, and then you close it and do it. You're all set through there. Okay. Now let me tell you, whenever I had them ship me the one of these H-Mark tools after they had a class. Oh my gosh, the guys had used so much lock prep in there that if you look right there where that residual lock prep sticker is on that second photograph, the one that I had was so bad that we realized it whenever we applied the first seal. So we had to take it and redo it. If you do that, then you're looking at probably, you could probably do it in 30 minutes, but it took us about an hour because it was so bad. Okay. So if the lock prep has been cured for a long time, it gets worse and worse. So there's only really about 3 ways to do it. If it's so bad, like ours was, I had to take acetone, put acetone into a jar, put that lock prep that you got it. I have to excuse me. I had to take and put that jaw into the acetone. I let it soak for about 30 minutes. Whenever I got it out, at least we could use a dental pick and get down there and clean it. Once you get it clean with the dental pick, you can take and use a little steel brush to go through. Okay. It's no different than actually, you have to have maintenance that you have to do to your torch system anyway. So, it's just like everybody else. You have to have it so that you're good. Okay, so let's go exits for. Let's go back. We're going to go back here to the. Let's go. I'm going to show something else. Okay, now you can say what you want to say. You can say that you don't like them. You can say that you love them. I'm telling you this. I am going to buy myself a set of these. They can buy all of these parts separately, or you can buy them in a kit. Okay. But I like this tube cutting pliers. These are fantastic. Once you get the hang of how to cut, you're great. It's really no different, okay, than whenever you first started using your whichever cutting tool you used. I had the little small one that I used. This I can, with a quarter of a turn, I can go all the way around it. It's great. Okay, so our cutting technique, we're going to mark the tube, align the cutter with the mark. Then we're going to place a free handle on the side of the cutter. We're going to use the fingers to maintain the cutter position. We're going to apply appropriate pressure so it rotates at least 120 degrees. Okay, so here's what they're talking about. Okay, hold your finger right next to it, and then your tool will ride right along it. If you look at this one that says broken or chipped wheels are caused by operating error and are not covered under warranty. Well, the class that we had, somebody had used this cutting tool and had actually squeezed so hard on it that they had chipped it. Okay, so whenever you're doing this, it's just like it is with your regular cutting tool. You know, you can't just take and squeeze it all the way through until you get it. You cause a problem, just like it is here. We're going to maintain a perpendicular position. Do not apply side torque. You need to have it even. I'm holding it with my finger, and then I'm gonna take my tool, and I'm just gonna do this with it. Okay. So I use my free hand as a guide, and then I don't use excessive pressure. That's the main thing, is not using excessive pressure. Okay. So not only did we have to fix our H-Mark tool, we also had to repair the cutting wheels. Now you have to be careful, because if you notice, there's the one on the left that says logo side. Okay. Then the one on the right, it says non-logo side. Whenever you go to push those pins out, you have to be sure that you're pushing them the right way. If you don't, you'll tear up this tool, and this tool is not cheap. It's about $160, I think. Okay, so here it is. Once again, the non-logo side. I'm going to take my little ball peen hammer and a scratch awl, and I can drive that through. Okay. The caution there is the retaining pin holes are tapered. Driving pins out incorrectly will destroy the tool. Yes, it will. Okay. So I'm going to drive the pins out from the non-logo side, which is what we just said. We're going to take the pins just far enough out to remove the cutting wheel. I don't have to take them all the way out. I can get my cutting wheel removed, and then I can just replace it, flip it over, and I can tap the pins back in. Once again, you don't have to smack it so hard you're going to break it. Okay, so center the new wheel with the pin hole. We're going to drive the pins in from the logo side. Driving the pins in incorrectly will destroy the tool. You wonder how many people have done that. So pins should not be driven flush. I'm going to verify the wheels spin freely. So you don't drive them all the way in flat. Okay. You're going to have a little bit of a lip right there. Okay. So my logo side is where and then the non-logo side. See, this is showing you that the logo side, the pins protrude. The non-logo side, the pins are recessed. That's why I'm telling you, don't drive them that far in, because the wheels won't spin. Like I said, remember that those are tapered. Okay. So if you have any other questions, you can actually go to, once again, Vulcan.com. All right. Let's take it out. We're going to finish up our class. Okay. And okay. So now we're going to talk about lock prep. The lock prep is a 65G. It's the only one that you use for appliances. Okay. The others are different. They have they set differently, so you've got to have a 65G. Now, the other thing that is very important is that lock prep is dated, so it's just like a gallon of milk. You don't want to use it whenever it's when it's out of date. It's not like milk, because if my milk goes bad, I might be able to slip a little bit out that I'm going to need. But my lock prep, it's stamped on right below where it says lock prep 65G. Down at the bottom, it says lock prep LokRing. Just below that is where it's going to be stamped the date. Do not use it if the date has expired. If the date expires, what will happen is you lose all functionality of the whole purpose of putting this LokRing lock prep 65G in there. Okay, because what the lock prep does is it compensates for any unevenness in the tube surface. It also hardens under oxygen exclusion and in contact with free metal ions. It stays elastic. It doesn't set up like concrete. Okay, it ensures that every LokRing connection is hermetically sealed. Okay, so if you look right here, you can tell where it fills in any of the gaps. One of the things that you need to be aware of is that whenever you're going to go and you're going to do this right here, that's the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to groove something. That's what sandpaper will do. Okay, so whenever I get ready to do my tube ends, I'm going to have to clean it. I would advise you to clean it before you cut it. Once I clean it, I don't have any issues with cutting it and sealing it together. Otherwise, I'm going to have a problem. Okay, so I'm going to clean the tube ends and the rotation to ensure that they're clean and free from paint and other surface impurities. I use let me take another second right here. Okay, if I use it, I have a double flip. If you look right here, that was the way that I was taught. The one on the left side is just the guy that takes the tube and just twists it with his hand. This I like because I make sure that I get it nice and clean, and I do not have any impurities in it. Okay, so the next thing that I'm going to do once I've done that is I'm going to apply my lock prep. Once I apply my lock prep, okay, I have exactly 20 seconds before it literally starts to harden. So I've got the way that I do it. Once I've done this, is that I take and put my tube on one side. I put my fitting right there in the center, like it is right there, and then I push it all the way in, and then I spin it. Then I move to the other side, and I get my lock prep, and I put the correct amount of lock prep on it, push that into the center, and then I try to spin it again. Okay, got to be very quick. Okay, so my insertion, like I told you before, you push it all the way into the stop. Once I have the tube stop, I rotate it. It says 360 degrees. I usually rotate it twice. Okay, and then respect the curing time. You've got to have if the one thing I can say is you've got to have it cured correctly. If I'm in Minnesota and I'm doing this and it's cold, I've got it up to an hour that I have to wait. Okay, so push the rings into the joint with the assembly tool. Then you see the way that it's flat and it's even. That's the way that assembly tool has to be. If it's not, it'll jump off and then it won't close properly. Because you want to look at it, and as I'm holding the tool and I'm looking at the fitting itself, I need to make sure that they're both going in the same distance. And whenever you get done and I pressed it all the way together, I can tell. You can see it. Once I've done that, you can look right there, and you've got the center, and you're all set. Okay. Once again, minimum of 10 minutes to let it cure. Okay. So I've got other things that I can be doing during that 10 minutes. I could be getting the model number, the serial number, and everything else while I'm letting that cure. I can be getting my vacuum gauges out, putting them together, hooking my vacuum pump up, hooking it up to the system so that I'm ready to go. And then whenever I reach my curing point, I can go ahead and start. Okay. So one other thing is the LokRing, the customer support. They have a really good training support, a dedicated system in place, in-depth LokRing theory, practice, and certification. So we do the certification. So you need to go to encompass.com, go to the training site. There is a training that is coming up very soon. Give me just 1 second, and I will tell you when it is. Okay, so we have. Boom, boom, boom. That's today. Okay, that one actually was gone. They have a 4-day training that is in Lawrenceville. It's from 8 to 5, 8 to 4, and that is 4 days. Okay. They also have a 2-day LokRing hands-on there on February the 19th and the 20th. They also, at the very end, we have, I'm trying to see, they have March. Let me find March. We have 4-day in Lawrenceville. They have training in March 10th through the 13th. They also have a 2-day training with LokRing. Those, and by the way, the 4-day trainings are $975 and the 2-day trainings are $500. Okay. So they have, looks like there aren't any more. Doesn't look like there is. Nope, there's not. Okay. That is for the rest of this month and next month. They're all in Lawrenceville. They do have trainings in Davie, Florida, but evidently there must be some issues because they had the one that we're going to have in the middle of the month that got canceled. So just make sure that you go to the site. You can sign up on Encompass training. Like I said, you just go to you can actually go to Encompass training, which is it is https / solutions.encompass.com / encompass -training / and that will get you right into where you needed to go. Because if you go to just the Encompass website, I have to go around and try to find where the training site is. Okay, so that is going to wind up our class for the day. Do you have any questions? I see that we only have had one person in here. So, do you have any questions? Okay, I'm going to take just a minute right here, and I'm going to talk about talk about my favorite thing with Encompass. And I wish that I had this whenever I was a technician, and that is the Easy Stock program. Where's it at? Well, for some reason, it's not showing up. Okay, so what does my Easy Stock program do? This is at the 40,000 foot level. Okay, so number one, it keeps track of my parts. I know exactly what parts I have, and I know um, I have I know exactly what parts I have in my truck. And then if I have, like, I don't know about you guys, I didn't have a true office at my house. I used the garage, and that's what I used was my garage, and I had space in my garage that I kept parts. So that actually, hang on a second, let me get rid of this. Well, I was trying. Okay, so in my garage, I had spot parts that I kept on shelves. Okay, that was great, except for the times that you had to have doors for refrigerators. Those always take up a lot of room. But normally, I didn't keep any stock on those. I only had those whenever I was going to have a job, do a job. So what I would do is I had I had to have my truck stop, and then I had my parts stock is what I called it. Okay, so one thing about about Encompass, the Encompass app, okay, it allows me so that I can set it up so that I'll never run out of parts. I can set my app so that whenever I run down to it, and I determine the level. Okay, um, for me, it was always 2 or 3, depending on what it was on fast moving parts. If I needed I would take 2 or 3, and I would if I was going to drop below that, I would always have to have that parts. But the problem with where I was, which was Atlanta, I literally I had to go to either Fox, or I had to go to somebody else, and they didn't have an app. The only thing that I could do at that time was just keep track of my parts the best I could. So some of the times I ran out of parts. Well, as well as I could do. It cost me a whole bunch of money to not have the part on hand. So that actually, this Encompass parts app will help me to keep my parts in stock. One of the other things, as well as, whenever you get out in the field, you see a lot of different appliances. So how do I know what my top 100 parts are? This Encompass app will do that for me. I don't have to go around and try to find if I've got the right part, and if I keep it in stock. It kind of helps me eliminate the parts that I don't have any longer. I used to have a 60-day return. So if I hadn't used a certain part in 60 days, I would return it. I can't afford to ride around with parts on my truck and I'm not using the parts. That didn't make good business sense. So that will help me. I can run reports. The report will tell me, how many parts that I have, and I can determine what the right amount of keeping parts in stock is for me. Like I said, normally my fast moving parts, I used to always have at least two pieces on my truck, and I had one in the garage. So there are so many things that this will do. You can go to YouTube. You can type in let me go. I'm going to go back out because I told somebody wrong last time. So let me go back out, and I can go to YouTube, and I can go wait for this to come up. There it is. I think it's just ENCOMPAS. And okay, so if I go and I type in Easy Stock, Encompass Easy Stock, it will give me what you need. Okay, it shows me that there are 5, 2, 3. Okay, this is showing 3. There were 5, but it will actually show me videos. One of them was an hour. The reason there were different length, 3 different videos, were what was covered in each one. There's one that's an actual training, and it's an hour long. So you have to have, excuse me, you have to have plenty of time. So if anybody has any questions, my name, my phone number, my email address are scrolling across the bottom. Also, Reggie's email, Reggie's phone number. You can just call him or text him, or you can do the same with me. So that's going to wind up our class for today. And I just wanted to say thank you very much. And you guys have a great day. Be safe out there. And we'll see you next time.